I have everything money can buy except what really matters, love and companionship. I'm sitting in my penthouse apartment right now, 23 floors above the city, floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view that real estate agents describe as breathtaking, and that cost me an extra $500,000 on top of the already obscene $3 million I paid for this place. Are you enjoying this story? Then consider supporting the channel by subscribing. Take a look. 8% of the people who watch these videos are still not subscribed to the channel. If you're part of that group, take the opportunity to subscribe now. It's free, and you'll keep receiving amazing stories. And don't forget, at the end of the video, you'll find more stories like this one. The sun is setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. That would be beautiful if I had someone to share them with, if I had someone to turn to and say, look at that sunset, and have them actually care, actually see it with me, rather than just acknowledging it out of politeness or professional obligation. But there's no one here. There's never anyone here. It's just me alone in 4,000 square feet of luxury, surrounded by everything money can buy and nothing that actually matters. Let me give you a precise inventory of what I have, because I think it's important to understand the scope of material success I've achieved before you understand the scope of human failure that success represents. I own this penthouse in one of the most expensive buildings in the city, paid in cash, no mortgage. The furnishings alone cost over $200,000, custom pieces from designers whose names I can't even pronounce, leather and marble and wood that comes from trees that take centuries to grow. My closet, and yes, I have a walk-in closet bigger than most people's bedrooms, is full of designer clothes, suits that cost $5,000 each, shoes that cost $1,000, shirts that cost hundreds. I own watches that cost more than cars, Rolex and Patek Philippe pieces that I rotate through, even though I'm the only one who sees them. Even though time passes the same way, whether I'm wearing a $50,000 watch or a $50 one. In the garage downstairs sits my car, a brand new Mercedes S-Class that I paid $130,000 for, and that I drive maybe twice a week because I mostly work from home and have everything delivered. It has features I don't understand, technology I've never learned to use, leather seats that have never held anyone but me. Next to it is my other car, a BMW that's 2 years old that I keep meaning to sell but haven't gotten around to because selling a car requires interacting with people and negotiating, and I'd rather just let it sit there depreciating than deal with that hassle. My bank accounts, and I have several spread across different institutions for diversification and security, hold over $7 million in liquid assets. $7 million. That's not counting my investment portfolios, my retirement accounts, my real estate holdings. My net worth is somewhere north of $12 million. I am, by any objective measure, rich, wealthy, financially successful beyond what most people achieve in a lifetime. I can buy anything I want, go anywhere I want, do anything I want. Money is not a constraint in my life. It hasn't been for over a decade. I travel internationally, first class always, staying in 5-star hotels, eating in Michelin-starred restaurants. I've been to Paris, London, Tokyo, Dubai, Singapore, Sydney, dozens of cities that most people only dream of visiting. I've eaten meals that cost $500 per person, drunk wines that cost thousands per bottle, experienced luxury that most people can't even imagine. And every single experience was hollow. Every flight was me sitting alone in a first-class seat, watching couples and families around me. Every restaurant was me at a table for one while surrounded by people dining together, talking, laughing, sharing. Every hotel room was me alone in a king-size bed, in a suite designed for romance or family, watching the sunrise through expensive windows with no one beside me. This is what I have. This is what 48 years of relentless focus on wealth accumulation has bought me. Now let me tell you what I don't have, what all this money can't buy, what I sacrificed to get all these material possessions that now feel like they're mocking me with their uselessness. I don't have love. I have never been in love, never felt that consuming, terrifying, exhilarating feeling that poets write about, and that I always dismissed as chemical reactions and temporary insanity. I have never had someone look at me the way I see couples looking at each other in restaurants or parks or airports, that look that says, this person is my person, this person matters to me more than anything. I have never experienced the intimacy of being truly known by another person and truly accepted. I have never had someone choose me, not for my money because they didn't know about my money, but for me, for who I am underneath all the wealth and success. I don't have companionship. I have no one to talk to, not really. No one to share my day with, to tell about something funny I saw or something that worried me, or just to sit in comfortable silence with while we both read or watch TV or do nothing at all. I have no one who knows my history, who remembers things about me, who has inside jokes with me, who I have years or decades of shared experiences with. I have no one who would notice if I didn't show up, if I disappeared, if I died tomorrow. I am utterly, completely, devastatingly alone. I am 66 years old, and I have never had a serious romantic relationship. Not one, not ever. I never had a girlfriend in high school or college. I never dated seriously in my 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s. I never built toward anything with anyone. I never had someone I called my partner, my girlfriend, my significant other. I never got engaged, never married, never had a wedding or an anniversary to celebrate. I never experienced the daily intimacy of sharing a life with someone, of making decisions together, of building something together, of being a we instead of just an I. And yes, at 66 years old, I am a virgin. A millionaire virgin, which sounds like a contradiction, like something that shouldn't be possible. Aren't rich men supposed to have women interested in them? Isn't money supposed to make you attractive, desirable? Maybe it does, but I never let anyone close enough to find out. I spent 66 years avoiding vulnerability, avoiding intimacy, avoiding anything that might interfere with my singular focus on accumulating wealth. And now I'm wealthy, and I've never experienced one of the most fundamental human experiences. I've never had sex. I've never made love. I've never been naked with another person, physically or emotionally. I've never experienced that profound connection, that intimacy, that merging of two people. I'm 66 years old and I don't know what I've missed beyond intellectual understanding that it's supposed to be meaningful. I have worked for 48 years to accumulate millions of dollars, and I've never once experienced physical or emotional intimacy with another human being. Let me tell you how I got here, how I built this golden cage I'm trapped in, how I made every wrong choice consistently for nearly 5 decades and ended up rich and alone and dying. Because yes, I'm dying, I'll get to that. But first, you need to understand the path that led here, the series of choices that seemed so rational at the time, and that I can now see with devastating clarity were catastrophically stupid. I grew up solidly middle class, nothing special. My parents were comfortable but always stressed about money, always worried about bills and savings and retirement. They fought about money constantly, and those fights shaped me in ways I didn't understand until it was far too late. I absorbed the message that money equals security, that financial struggle equals misery, that the way to avoid their fate was to focus on wealth accumulation above everything else. And that's exactly what I did. I was smart, good at math and business concepts, and I decided early that I would be rich. Not comfortable, not middle class like my parents, but actually rich. And I was willing to do whatever it took to get there. I started working at 15, saved every penny, invested early. I went to college for business and finance, not because I was passionate about it, but because it was the most direct path to wealth. I worked part-time throughout college, sometimes full-time during summers, always focused on building my resume and my bank account. Here's where the pattern started, the pattern that would define my entire life. In college, people would invite me to things, parties, and study groups and casual hangouts. And I developed a filter, a calculation I would run in my head for every invitation, every opportunity for social connection. I would ask myself, does this advance my financial goals? Does this person have connections that could help my career? Is this event going to lead to opportunities that generate money? And if the answer was no, I would decline. I would say I was too busy, had to study, had to work. Which was often true. I was always studying or working, but it was also a choice. I chose to prioritize activities that built wealth over activities that built relationships. There was a woman in my junior year, Michelle, who was in several of my business classes. She was smart, driven, attractive, and she clearly liked me. She asked me to study together, which I agreed to because studying was productive, but then she asked me to go to a movie, to get dinner, to just hang out without the pretense of academics, and I said no. Every time. Because movies and dinners and hanging out, those things cost money and time, and they didn't generate any return on investment. They were consumption, not production. Waste, not investment. So I said no, repeatedly, until she stopped asking and eventually started dating someone else. I told myself I had made the right choice. I told myself that relationships were distractions, that they cost money and time and emotional energy that I needed to invest in building my future. I told myself there would be time for all that later, after I was financially secure, after I had built the foundation of wealth that would give me freedom. The lie I repeated to myself for 48 years. Later. Always later. Never now. First the money, then everything else. I graduated with honors and immediately took a job at a financial services firm, starting salary of $58,000, which in the mid-90s was decent money for a 22-year-old. And I attacked that job with the same single-minded focus I had applied to school. I worked 60, 70, sometimes 80 hours a week. I took every project offered, volunteered for extra work, made myself indispensable. I didn't date. I didn't make friends. I didn't do anything that wasn't directly related to advancing my career and increasing my income. My colleagues went out for drinks after work, had dinner parties, played on company sports teams. I never joined them. When they invited me, I'd run my calculation. Does this generate money? Does this advance my career? And the answer was always no, so I always declined. Here's the thing about that calculation, about that filter I ran everything through. It was effective. It worked, at least in terms of the metric I was measuring. I got promoted faster than my peers. I got bigger raises. I got recognition and bonuses and opportunities. By 26, I was making 6 figures. By 30, I was making over 200,000. By 35, I was making over 400,000. My income kept climbing because I was willing to sacrifice everything else for it. While my colleagues were balancing work and life, I was all work. While they were leaving at 6 to go home to spouses or partners or friends, I was staying until 9 or 10. While they were taking vacations and weekends off, I was always available, always working, always accumulating. And I was accumulating, not just income but wealth. I lived cheap, stupidly cheap given how much I was making. I had a small apartment in a mediocre neighborhood because rent was low. I drove a used car that I kept for over a decade. I ate cheap food, wore cheap clothes, took no vacations. Every dollar that didn't go to absolute necessities went into investments, stocks, bonds, index funds, real estate investment trusts. I maxed out my 401k, maxed out my IRA, invested in taxable accounts. I read about investing constantly, optimized my portfolio, minimized taxes, maximized returns. My net worth grew exponentially. By 40, I was a millionaire. By 45, I had over 2 million. By 50, over 4 million. By 55, over 7 million. I had achieved the wealth I had been chasing since I was a teenager. I was rich. Finally, truly, undeniably rich. And I was completely, utterly, devastatingly alone. But I told myself that was temporary. I told myself that now that I had achieved financial security, now I could focus on other things. I could start dating, building relationships, maybe even finding someone to settle down with. I was 55, wealthy, financially secure for life. Now was the time to focus on personal life, except it didn't work that way, because I had spent 33 years, more than half my life, avoiding human connection. I had spent 33 years training myself to see people through the lens of financial utility. I had spent 33 years building walls around myself, protecting my time and money from anyone who might want to share them. And you can't just turn that off. You can't spend 33 years becoming someone and then suddenly become someone else just because you decide you're ready. I tried dating. I joined dating sites, expensive ones that catered to successful professionals. I went on dates, dozens of them over the next few years, and every single one was a disaster. Not because the women weren't nice or interesting or attractive, but because I had no idea how to connect with another human being. I didn't know how to make conversation about anything except work and money. I didn't know how to be vulnerable or open. I didn't know how to show interest in another person's life without calculating what I would get out of it. I didn't know how to be anything except the person I had trained myself to be for over 3 decades, calculating, guarded, focused on personal benefit over mutual connection. The physical intimacy was even worse. I was in my late 50s by this point, had never had sex, had barely even kissed anyone. The few times dates progressed to anything physical, I panicked. I didn't know what to do, how to act, how to be. The vulnerability of physical intimacy terrified me. I had spent my entire adult life protecting myself from vulnerability, and I couldn't suddenly become comfortable with it just because I decided I was ready. One woman, after our 4th date when things were heading in a physical direction and I completely froze up, asked me directly, "Have you ever been intimate with anyone?" And I had to admit, at 57 years old, that no, I hadn't. She was kind about it, said everyone moves at their own pace, but I could see the concern in her eyes. We never went out again. After enough failed dates, I stopped trying. It was too painful, too confronting, too obvious that I had broken something in myself that couldn't be fixed. I had spent so many years avoiding intimacy and connection that I had lost the ability to achieve them. I was like an emotional amputee, missing parts that most people develop in their teens and 20s, but that I had deliberately excised in pursuit of wealth. And now, with all the money in the world, I couldn't buy those parts back. I couldn't purchase the ability to be vulnerable or open or connected. I couldn't pay someone to teach me how to love or be loved, how to share my life with someone, how to be part of a we instead of just an I. My 50s and early 60s passed in a blur of work and wealth accumulation and increasing isolation. I retired at 63, not because I wanted to, but because I had achieved all my financial goals and there was no point continuing to work. I had more money than I could spend in several lifetimes. I had won the game I had been playing for over 40 years, and winning felt like losing because without work I had nothing. No purpose, no structure, no identity beyond being rich. Just time, endless time, to fill with activities that felt meaningless because I had no one to share them with. That's when I started the luxury lifestyle, the one I described at the beginning. The international travel, the 5-star restaurants, the expensive watches and clothes and cars. I thought maybe surrounding myself with luxury would fill the void. I thought maybe experiencing the best things money could buy would make me feel successful, validated, happy. But luxury without companionship is just expensive loneliness. A $500 meal eaten alone tastes the same as a $20 meal eaten alone. A first-class plane seat with no one to talk to is just a more expensive way to be isolated. A penthouse apartment with no one to share it with is just a bigger cage. I kept telling myself I would figure it out, would find a way to build the personal life I had neglected for so long, but it kept not happening. I'd see couples in restaurants, elderly pairs who had clearly been together for decades, finishing each other's sentences and sharing comfortable silences and just being together in that easy way that comes from years of intimacy. And I'd feel such a profound ache of longing and loss of awareness that I would never have that, could never have that, because you can't build decades of history with someone when you're in your 60s and have never learned how to be with someone. Are you enjoying this story? Then consider supporting the channel by subscribing. Take a look. 94.8% of the people who watch these videos are still not subscribed to the channel. If you're part of that group, take the opportunity to subscribe now. It's free and you'll keep receiving amazing stories. And don't forget, at the end of the video, you'll find more stories like this one. I'd see families in airports, parents with adult children and grandchildren, 3 generations traveling together. And I'd think about how I have no one, no spouse, no children, no grandchildren, no parents anymore. They died years ago. No siblings. I'm an only child. No extended family I'm close to. No friends. Not real ones. Just me alone with my millions, watching other people have the things that actually make life worth living, and knowing I traded my chance at those things for money that turns out to be completely worthless without people to share it with. 3 months ago I started having symptoms, difficulty urinating, pain in my lower back and hips, general feeling of being unwell. I ignored it for a while because I ignore most physical discomfort. I'm used to just pushing through. But it got worse, bad enough that I finally went to see a doctor. They ran tests, lots of tests, biopsies, imaging, blood work. And 2 months ago, I got the diagnosis that changed everything, or maybe more accurately, clarified everything. Prostate cancer, advanced stage, already metastasized to my bones, aggressive, treatment options limited at this stage. Prognosis, approximately 2 years, maybe less. Maybe, if I'm very lucky with treatment, a bit more. But not much. The cancer had been growing for years, probably, while I ignored the early symptoms because I had better things to do than deal with health issues. The doctor, a kind woman, probably in her 40s, delivered the news with professional compassion. She asked if I had someone with me, someone I wanted her to explain things to, someone who could help me process this and make decisions about treatment. I said no. I was alone. She asked about family, spouse, children, anyone who should be informed or who could support me through this. Again, no. I saw something in her eyes then, pity mixed with sadness, as she realized she was telling a 66-year-old man he was dying and he had no one to tell, no one to help him through it, no one who would care. She referred me to an oncologist, talked about treatment options, chemotherapy and radiation, and hormone therapy. Things that might extend my life but wouldn't cure me. Treatments that would make me sick and weak, that would require someone to help take care of me, drive me to appointments, manage my medications, be there when I was too sick to manage alone. And I sat there thinking, I don't have anyone to do that. I have $7 million and no one to help me through cancer treatment. I can afford the best doctors, the best hospitals, the best care money can buy. But I can't afford, can't purchase, can't acquire the one thing I actually need, which is another human being who gives a damn about me. I started treatment because what else was I going to do? Just give up immediately. Chemotherapy every 3 weeks, hormone therapy, radiation. The oncologist was optimistic about maybe extending my prognosis, maybe giving me 3 or 4 years instead of 2. But the treatment is brutal. I'm nauseous, constantly exhausted. My hair is falling out, I've lost weight. And I'm going through it completely alone. I drive myself to appointments when I'm capable, take an Uber when I'm not. I sit in the infusion center for hours while poison drips into my veins, surrounded by other cancer patients who have family members with them, spouses holding their hands and children bringing them snacks and friends keeping them company. And I sit alone reading on my phone. No one to talk to, no one to hold my hand, no one who cares. The worst part, worse even than the physical misery of the treatment, is the clarity that cancer brings, the way it strips away all the bullshit and forces you to confront what actually matters. And what actually matters, what I understand now with devastating certainty, is connection, love, companionship, having people in your life who care about you and who you care about. Everything else, all the money and success and material possessions I spent 48 years accumulating, it's completely worthless in the face of cancer and death. My $7 million can't cure my cancer. My penthouse apartment can't keep me company when I'm sick and scared. My luxury car can't hold my hand. My designer clothes can't comfort me. All these things I thought were important, that I sacrificed everything to obtain, they're useless. Worse than useless, they're mocking me, reminding me every day of what I gave up to get them. The oncologist was honest with me last week. The treatment isn't working as well as she'd hoped. The cancer is progressing despite everything we're throwing at it. She thinks I have less time than the original 2-year estimate, maybe a year, maybe 18 months if I'm lucky. And more importantly, she thinks I'm going to need care soon, full-time care. I'm already struggling to manage alone. The treatment makes me so weak and sick that there are days I can barely get out of bed. I need help with shopping, cooking, cleaning, managing medications, and it's only going to get worse as the cancer progresses. So I've made arrangements. I've hired home care nurses to come by twice a day to check on me, help with meals and medications. But that's just a temporary solution, a bridge to what's inevitable. Within a few months probably, I'm going to need to move to a facility. Hospice care, or at the very least assisted living with medical support, a place where there are people around, where I'm not alone when I fall, or when I'm too sick to function, or when the pain gets too bad and I need help immediately. A place where I can die with some level of dignity and comfort, even if I'm dying alone. I've been touring facilities over the past few weeks, looking for a place to die. How's that for a sentence? Shopping for a place to die, comparing amenities and prices and staff qualifications for facilities where I'll spend my final months. I've chosen one, expensive obviously, about $8,000 a month for a private room with full hospice support. I can afford it easily, barely make a dent in my $7 million, even if I live longer than expected. I'm moving next week. I'll leave this penthouse, we'll pack up the few things that matter, which turns out to be almost nothing, and I'll move into a facility full of other dying people. Most of them will have families visiting, spouses and children and grandchildren coming by regularly. I'll have paid staff professional and kind, but ultimately indifferent because I'm just their job. And then I'll die. In a year or maybe less, the cancer will progress to the point where treatment is no longer worthwhile, and I'll transition to pure palliative care, focused on managing pain and keeping me comfortable until the end. And then one day, maybe after weeks or months of declining, maybe suddenly if I'm lucky my body will stop functioning and I'll be gone. Dead at 66 or 67, having lived one of the most wasteful lives imaginable. I'll die having never truly lived, having spent 66 years accumulating wealth, and 0 years experiencing love or intimacy or connection or any of the things that make being human meaningful. The hospice facility will handle everything, because there's no family to make arrangements. They'll cremate me, my ashes will go in a niche somewhere, and that will be it. The end of 66 years of existence. My $7 million will go to charity, to organizations I've designated in my will, but that I have no real connection to. Some non-profits will get substantial donations, will send thank you letters to an address where no one lives anymore, will maybe put my name on a plaque somewhere, and then I'll be forgotten, completely and utterly forgotten, as if I never existed at all. I sit here in my penthouse, 23 floors above the city, surrounded by everything money can buy, and I understand with perfect clarity that I wasted my life. I made every wrong choice, consistently, for 48 years. Every time I chose money over people, I was choosing wrong. Every time I ran that calculation, asking myself if something generated income or advanced my career, and used that as the sole basis for decisions about how to spend my time and who to spend it with, I was destroying my life while thinking I was building it. Every time I said later to relationships and intimacy and connection, I was lying to myself because later never comes. You're always making choices now, and the choices I made were uniformly catastrophic. I think about all the moments where I could have chosen differently. Michelle in college, asking me out and me saying no because dates don't generate income. Colleagues inviting me to social events and me declining because networking that doesn't directly advance my career is waste. Women interested in me in my 30s and 40s, and me avoiding them because relationships cost time and money and emotional energy that I wanted to invest in wealth accumulation. Every single one of those moments was a choice between money and humanity, and I chose money every single time. And now I'm rich and inhuman, wealthy and empty, successful and dying alone. If I could go back, if I could talk to my 22-year-old self, starting that first job with such clear focus on wealth accumulation, what would I say? I would grab him by the shoulders and shake him and say, "You're wrong about everything. Yes, money matters. Yes, financial security is important, but it's not the only thing that matters, and it's not even close to the most important thing. Work hard, yes, but don't make work your entire life. Build wealth, yes, but don't sacrifice everything else to build it. When someone asks you out, say yes sometimes. When colleagues invite you to social events, go sometimes. When opportunities for human connection present themselves, take them, even if they don't generate income, even if they cost money, even if they take time away from work." I would tell him that the calculation he's running, the filter he's using to decide how to spend his time, is going to destroy his life. That asking, "Does this make me money?" as the primary question about every activity and every relationship is going to lead him to 66 years old with millions of dollars and 0 people, that he's going to end up rich and dying and completely alone, and all that wealth will be worthless because he'll have no one to share it with, no one to care that he's dying, no one to mourn him when he's gone. I would tell him that love and companionship aren't luxuries to pursue after you achieve financial success. They're necessities as important as food or air or shelter. That a life without intimacy and connection isn't a successful life no matter how much money you make. That dying alone in a hospice facility being cared for by paid staff is a tragedy, even if the facility is expensive and the staff are professional. That all the money in the world can't buy you someone who actually gives a damn about you when you're sick and scared and dying. But I can't go back. I can't warn my younger self. I can't make different choices. All I can do is sit here in this penthouse for one more week, surrounded by everything money can buy and nothing that matters, and then move to the hospice facility where I'll spend my final months. All I can do is live out the consequences of 48 years of catastrophically wrong choices, dying alone at 66, having never experienced love or intimacy or companionship or any of the things that make being human worthwhile. I have everything money can buy. I have a $3 million penthouse with breathtaking views. I have a $130,000 car in the garage. I have a closet full of designer clothes and a drawer full of expensive watches. I have $7 million in the bank. I have investment portfolios and real estate holdings and financial security that most people can only dream of. I have traveled to dozens of countries, eaten in the world's best restaurants, experienced luxury that most people never see. I have everything, literally everything, that money can purchase. And I have nothing that matters. I have zero love. I have zero companionship. I have zero intimacy or connection or meaningful relationships. I have never been in love. I have never had someone love me. I have never experienced physical intimacy. I have never shared my life with another person. I have never built something with someone. Never been part of a we. Never had someone who was my person and who I was their person. I have spent 66 years alive, and I have never truly lived, have never experienced the things that make being human meaningful and worthwhile. And now I'm dying. Cancer is eating away at my body. Treatment is making me weaker and sicker, and within a year I'll be gone. And I'll die exactly as I lived, alone, no spouse holding my hand, no children surrounding my bed, no grandchildren to remember me, no friends to mourn me, just paid staff in a hospice facility doing their jobs, being professional and kind, but ultimately indifferent because I'm just another patient, just another lonely old man dying alone, one of many they'll see in their careers. Are you enjoying this story? Then consider supporting the channel by subscribing. Take a look, 94.8% of the people who watch these videos are still not subscribed to the channel. If you're part of that group, take the opportunity to subscribe now. It's free, and you'll keep receiving amazing stories. And don't forget, at the end of the video, you'll find more stories like this one. This is what happens when you spend your life prioritizing wealth over humanity. This is what happens when you make every decision based on financial benefit rather than human connection. This is what happens when you tell yourself there will be time for love and relationships later, after you achieve financial success, and then later never comes because you spent so many years avoiding connection that you forgot how to achieve it. You end up rich and alone and dying, surrounded by expensive things and devoid of meaning, filled with regrets so profound they're physically painful, and all the money in the world can't save you from that hell. I have everything money can buy except what really matters, except love, except companionship, except anyone who gives a damn that I'm dying. And now it's too late to acquire those things, too late to build the relationships I should have been building all along, too late to undo 48 years of wrong choices. All I can do is live out my final year surrounded by wealth and drowning in loneliness, and hope that maybe someone will read this and make different choices before they end up where I am. Don't make my mistakes. Please, learn from my catastrophic failure. Yes, work hard. Yes, build financial security. Yes, money matters, and you should be responsible about it. But don't make money your only priority. Don't sacrifice human connection for wealth accumulation. Don't run everything through a filter of, does this make me money, and use that as the sole basis for how you spend your time and who you spend it with. Don't avoid relationships because they're expensive or time-consuming or emotionally risky. Don't tell yourself there will be time for love later after you achieve success, because later might not come, and even if it does, you might have broken yourself so thoroughly in pursuit of wealth that you've lost the ability to achieve connection. Build a life, not just a bank account. Invest in people as much as you invest in portfolios. Say yes to dates and dinners and social events, even if they don't generate income. Take the risk of vulnerability and intimacy, even if it's scary. Allow people into your life, even if they might hurt you. Because being hurt is better than never feeling anything at all. Live now, don't postpone living until after you achieve financial goals, because you might achieve those goals and discover they're worthless without people to share them with. I'm 66 years old, I have $7 million, and I'm dying alone in a year. I have everything money can buy and nothing that matters. I wasted my life chasing wealth and I can't get it back. Don't waste yours. Choose love. Choose companionship. Choose connection. Choose humanity over money before it's too late. Because it becomes too late faster than you imagine. And then you're old and dying and alone and filled with regrets that no amount of wealth can ease. Learn from my failure. Please. It's the only meaning I can extract from this wasted life, the only legacy I can leave, a warning to others not to make the same catastrophic mistakes I made.